What's good? So, as y'all probably have heard, uh, there was an apparent assassination attempt on Trump Saturday night at this White House Correspondents' Dinner. I mean, I started to skim right past this because, I mean, at this point, a failed assassination attempt is not exactly news worthy as far as I'm concerned. So I mean, this dude Cole Allen from Cali, I believe he was a biotech engineer. But the armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and a knife. Like, what is this? Fortnite? Who the hell? What type of assassin is trying to do a hit with a shotgun? I mean, from a technical standpoint, I'm just saying, if you are trying to do a assassination, and usually these assassinations at this point, this is not, you know, 1820 when you can just walk right up to. I mean, a shotgun ain't necessarily. You understand what I mean? It's usually going to be a long range rifle. Anyway, so yeah, armed with a shotgun. This guy, now, at first they were saying he was shot and killed. Now they're saying he was arrested. And so apparently this wasn't even close to where Trump was seated. It was like 2 or 3 tiers above. So it wasn't, it wasn't a close call. Let's put it like, not like the last time, the last fake assassination attempt, where he got his ear apparently shot off, but it wasn't. And, he had a band-aid on it for like 2 weeks, and then we never heard anything else about no wound, not even a scar. I mean, I know you can only see what you can see, from a TV screen or your phone or whatever, but if you took a high caliber bullet to the ear, it would probably tear at least part of your ear off. Having some knowledge of firearms. And so yeah, so what am I getting at? I don't believe this was actually a real assassination attempt. Now, these things do occur, from what I understand. Obama was, there was 11 attempted assassinations on Obama. They say 5 to 6 with Joe Biden. But these were cases where individuals were at their personal residence. It was thwarted at their homes, not at some event that was going to be televised. Oh, I don't buy this shit. And I'm not one to buy into conspiracies, or I'm just always looking for some reason to. I mean, I believe what is practical. I believe in, from a scientific, I believe in proof and facts, man. Outside of my religious faith. Everything else, I need some definitive proof. All this to say, not 10 minutes after, they are interviewing Trump. Not minutes after this so-called assassination attempt. And they are basically, the Republicans, Trump, pumping for this new golden playroom. And it's like, God damn, man, give it a rest, This is exactly why we need, the golden ballroom. Woo-woo, they have, plans to put bulletproof glass, drone-proof roofs, drone-proof roofs. Is that even possible? I'm going to have to look that up. I mean, I didn't think that you can make a roof drone-proof. We talking about a high-velocity ballistic missile strike. I've never heard. So yeah, that's an extra, 10 million. This shit is all a scam. I believe this is staged. I believe that they maybe found somebody who was, who fit the criteria. The Trump administration. Somebody who had mental deficiencies, who they could, in cahoots with them to stage this event. And then afterward, whisk him away, and he just disappeared. I mean, maybe not literally, but what I'm saying is we never hear about him again. But I could be wrong, you know. But it's just odd, man. At a time like right now, you still talking about this damn golden ballroom. That like Americans don't care about a golden ballroom, a golden orgy room, game room, whatever it is. They care about health care, you know, affordable health care, affordable living, you know, being able to mortgage a home, our veterans, our this homeless population, you know, things of that nature. But you know, we don't have money for daycares, and what the hell are you talking about? You know, we got to get a golden orgy room built on the East Wing ASAP. This is proof. This is the most circus-like atmosphere surrounding the administration. You got Lori Loomer, uh, you know, this right wing extreme activist. I mean, she's like a talking head, far right, you know, going at it with Candace Owens. And I mean, just, I hear Loomer, you know, has a propensity to, you know, she likes young meat. I'll put it like that. So she fits right into you know, the Epstein class or this Trump administration. I know she's not technically, you know, she's, you know, a talking head, you know. So, but she's right aligned with the, you know, the Epstein class, allegedly, you know. And then you have P. Hegseth. No, he was actually fired. Coincidentally, who in the middle of a war? Now, there it has happened. Generals have been fired. Eisenhower, I believe it was General Patton. The last time it happened during the middle of this has obviously been a while. It happens where generals get fired and during, you know, a military event because this isn't a war. But to have this many staff members, military staff members, fired by the president in the middle, right in the middle of a war, you know, it's kind of unheard of. So that kind of, you know, give you insight in how disorganized, dysfunctional this administration has been. But you know, the head of FBI, Kash Patel, you know, when he's not, you know, spending uh, American tax dollars flying around in a private jet that we fund, you know, to go party and shit. You know, he's apparently blacked out drunk. He has his own blackout team. So it's not a security team. And this is not hyperbole. This is real shit. He is known to get so drunk, what we call POD back in the day. You know, he's MIA from meetings. He's missing, you know, important, you know, like I said, meetings. He's, you know, not responding for days at a time, you know, at times. And they have to send in this team to break into his room or to locate him and, you know, rouse him from his, you know, drunken stupors because he's passed out drunk so often. I mean, imagine the head of the FBI, the top officer of America, you know, have to have his own drunk team, you know, because he may or may not, you know, be somewhere, you know, passed out in an alley. You know, he likes to party with the young. You've seen the clips of him, maybe, of him, you know, getting hammered with the USA gold-winning hockey team. And he's, you know, literally dousing himself in alcohol like a 19-year-old frat boy. So they have to, at times, you know, literally break into his room because he's so drunk, you know, and hungover, you know, he's not responsive. The head of the FBI. So, you know, just an example of the type of administration that Trump has surrounded himself with. Because, like I said, he wants sycophants. He does not want competent advisory. Just puppets, you know, while he himself is a puppet. But yeah, I mean, this shit is crazy. I mean, this is, I mean, theatrical is an understatement. With, like I said, you got, Trump posting Candace Owens with these AI, you know, renditions of her own Time magazine, and not a flattering way. Basically depicting her at, from my opinion, she looked like a slave or something. I'm not trying to be funny. This is, you know, and he calls her low IQ. Same thing he did to, anybody of color, to be honest, that doesn't bootlick, or kiss his ass. They're low IQ. And, people like Lord, while the Democrats are blamed for inciting this assassination attempt, this is what goes on in the administration. And this is not picking sides. I'm an independent voter. I'm not a Democrat. Just a bunch of kids, man. You know what I'm saying? Going back and forth. It's their fault. No, it's their fault. We don't care about this shit, man. These are not issues, saying that, Democrats are inciting violence and, but it's the people like Lori Loomer, that, that these far right, like I said, Trump fanatics who are, just day after day after day, just filled with hate and vitriol. Like, God, like, give this shit a break, man. But like I said, I guess she was exposed somewhat by Candace Owens, and that's why they beefing right now. Candace Owens has got a story where exposing Lori Loomer's, like I said, her propensity to, target the younger men. She likes, like I said, basically saying she's, has committed sexual assault, and allegedly. So, Lori Loomer's now firing back saying, this black nappy head, ghetto so-and-so. And, I mean, this shit is just, like a Netflix series. The administration. And it's like, what the hell is going on? Where are the adults, actually getting things done in this country? I don't know if y'all know this, but, the poverty rate is at an all-time high. It's the wealthiest country in the world, but more than half of Americans are poor, like literally. This so-called land of milk and honey. I guess milk and honey only flows uphill. Over half of Americans, the richest, most wealthiest, prosperous country in the world, are poor, living check to check, if you getting a check. And it's a damn shame, man. While we have these, overgrown children in our government, flying around in private jets, wasting our money, fighting back and forth like grade schoolers. It's the Democrats. It's the same old bullshit, man. And I'm be honest, I just get sick of it. I have to take a step back from this shit sometimes. Maybe I should, because it's just asinine. But yeah, the administration. And by the way, yeah, we still getting our ass kicked. We still getting BTA, from Iran. Nothing has changed on that front, But you see how they come up with the different distractions to distract us, Because I do believe, part of the reason this war started was, a distraction from the Epstein files. Now we have this fake, I believe it was fake, a staged assassination attempt to distract us from the war that was used to distract us from the Epstein files. So what's next? You know what I'm saying? And all the while, like I said, prices just, inflation just, the math ain't mathing. So, completely objective failure as this administration has been. And, like I said, Democrat, Republic, whatever denomination they all running a game. They all conning. the average American, especially working class. Because if you can't pay to play, y'all do know our politicians are selected for us, right? I mean, you've never heard of all these politicians that they roll out are pre-selected, man, by the billionaire oligarchs. They're funded. I mean, you got to have sponsors. You got to have funding if you're going to run for office. I mean, government, as it applies to, you know, the upper echelon. So they're pre-selected anyway. We aren't actually a democracy, man. We don't choose our officials. They choose them for us. And we choose from a pool of pre-selected officials that have already been bought and paid for. So how the hell is this a democracy? Yeah, well, it is what it is. So, but Americans are starting to wake up and realize that it's all a con, and not just the Trump administration, our government in general. It's a con. There's so-called trickle down, uh, you know, Reaganomics. You know, like I said before, only thing that trickles down in this economy is shit. All the wealth flows uphill. Oh, what you gonna do about it? I guess we could always revolt and overthrow, our government. Revolution. Imagine that. No ops left, Skano. You already know.